And ladies and gentlemen, welcome for Basis 89 Part 1. And we've heard of an amazing incident from Northern Ireland. The Tannyoky Road alien encounter, May 2016. The witness is Arfon Jones, and he's from Wales, but he lives in Northern Ireland. My name is Miles Johnston. And if you're an alien encounter, if you've had ET experience, do see what we're going to do on the chat rooms. And we'll get our witness on the runway. And we have a couple of pictures, and here we are. Arfon Jones, how are you doing? So how did we meet?
Miles, how's it going? Well, it was in Manchester. In the conference, the Awakening conference, if you remember.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a good day. It was an interesting thing to go to.
Yeah, that was a massive UFO thing. So, A, you're from Wales. B, you are talking about an incident in Northern Ireland. So how did you get from Wales to Northern Ireland?
Well, I just came here, met the one that I got married to, and...
Oh, very romantic.
That's me, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So, apparently you were walking in the woods one day, or what happened? What happened? And we've got a PowerPoint presentation here, so we'll actually sort of fade that up on the laptop, and we'll take that off. So, explain what this is all about.
It is a story that you sometimes hear somebody talk about, oh, they've seen a light in the sky, and there's always an explanation. Somebody will say, oh, it was, they'll have an explanation for it. But in my case, it was a fantastic sunny day in May 2016, and I was driving down this road, Tannyoky Road, and I came around a corner, and right in front of me in the middle of the road, there was this thing standing there. And I say a thing because...
Is this in daylight?
In daylight, yes, at 11 o'clock in the morning. Might have been a couple of minutes after 11, but I remember it because I looked at my watch. And this was in the middle of the road, and it was walking with its back towards me. And some people might laugh when I say it had a tail. But
that's very important, though.
The thing is, it turned, well, as I was coming towards it. The thing is, I could have knocked it down because it was so many seconds in front of me, yes, because I could see it. The immediate thing I did at that point was to start looking at it from head to toe, up and down, to take it all in.
So how big was it?
God, it was quite tall. As tall as me, I would say about 6 feet at least. It was a tall thing. It stood as we would, it had legs, it had arms. There was nothing, it wasn't a beyond weird looking creature, it had a body, but the way I would describe the body, it was like, it had like three muscles to the upper part of the body, the body itself.
Three sections?
Three sections, yeah. It was like the way somebody would have a six-pack at the bottom, at the bottom part of the stomach. But this thing it was rounded, totally rounded. There was no kind of sternum bit in the center bit. So it was coming round in three muscle parts running down the torso. And the bottom part where it's, as we would have hips then.
Now they've got the photograph that you sent of what the road looks like at that sort of time, yeah. The blue sky and everything. Not a huge road, but it's in the middle of the countryside, yeah. Yeah,
and it was basically looked at it, and the legs were quite thin, but quite muscular, very long legs. But the colour of it was like a blue, between a very dark grey and a blue colour. This creature thing, but the way I would describe it, it was very low. The way you look at pictures of the alien creatures, whatever you call them, it kind of, I thought straight away of like a grey. It made me think of, that kind of a thing.
But it was exactly Go ahead describing it. I mean, and how close did you get to it to see all that?
Running up to it, there was all sorts of things going through my mind. It was a case of, if I come up to this and hit it, is it going to go down? Is it going to damage my car? Basically, you have a fear that comes into you. I was shaking like a leaf at the time. My hands were shaking. My whole body was trembling. And it was a case of put the brakes on. I had to put the brakes on. Slow down, slow down. And as I slowed it, coming up so close to it, it just turns around. And I remember the flick of the tail.
The flick of the tail?
The tail, yeah. The tail itself, it wasn't like you'd get a cat's tail goes down, or a dog's tail would go down. This tail would stay evenly across it just swung across left to right. And as it turned around, it stood right in front of me. And at that point I was going, what do I do now? But I was coming so close to it. And as I came up, I don't know how many feet away was it. I was that close, because at that point I looked straight into its eyes.
And what did you see in its eyes? What was the face like? What expression?
It was black, and see the eyes were really dark, these big eyes. And as soon as I looked at that point, it used one of its left hand, pulled the grass aside, and it shot into the field like lightning. And it was a case of, even looking straight in its face, you could see as we would your forehead, lines on your forehead. I could even see that. I looked straight into its face. So some people will say to me, you were seeing things. This wasn't seeing things. I could turn around and say to somebody, I've seen something in a hedge, I've seen lights, whatever. And people will say, oh yes, it must have been a cat, or, whatever. But in this instance, I wouldn't be talking about it. It was in the it was in the middle of the day, nearly daylight.
Now the photograph that we've got up on the screen is you taking a photograph through the windscreen, so there are some inside reflections there, as if there's maybe some objects in the sky or something. That's just mirror reflections inside the car. Is that right?
It's difficult to it's trying to get a picture just to show the.
Yeah, it's fine. It's nice. It's a typical South Armagh road. Border country. Yeah. So that's near Points Pass. Could you explain how close the area is, what it's like?
Yeah, that's a road. You have a road that goes from Market Hill to Tannyoky, and there's a road that turns off to the right if you're coming from Market Hill, and it takes you down. Then this road takes down through they call it Tannyoky Road, and that heads into Points Pass. And this is kind of I would say about half the way down that road. There's a wee little bit of an S bend. And as I came out of that corner onto this street, that's where if you have that photo of there's a photo I think I showed you.
Yes.
That has, I've circled it where that stretch of road was.
Okay, we've got that now.
Mm-hmm.
And could you go into it, and you've got a red marker on that?
It was on that patch of road. That's where, roughly where it was kind of walking, on that stretch of road. But I just wish there was somebody coming along, maybe behind me or the other way, that could have, seen it at the same time.
And it was blue sky like it was in the photograph, is that right?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was a beautiful day, and it was like, some people say you were unlucky. Why did you see it? That's the question I ask myself to this day. Why? Why me?
Can you remember more about the incident? I mean, how long did it last?
I would say it was a good. Oh God, it was a good. I would say could be 10 seconds. You're coming around that corner. I'm putting the brakes on. I was able to look it up and down a good at least 4 times. From head to toe. That's how much I was able to look
now,
it up.
Unfortunately, you did have another drawing made, but that individual's pulled it from publication. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't want anything to do with it.
How close to the picture that you're unable to show, and hopefully you'll be able to get another one, is the black and white one that you've given? How different was the one that you weren't able to use?
The other one, you mean?
Yeah, the other one.
How close to it? That was pretty much close. I was trying to, with the picture I've made of it, is to show the shape of the upper body. You know, the legs were obviously.
There's a pretty good rendition.
You know, the legs obviously. It's difficult to draw arms and legs if you're not a real artist. But I did my best. But the head on it, you know, is pretty much like that.
So what do you do as a profession? What's your... I mean, are you skilled in artwork or what?
No, I would say when I was at school, yeah, I did a little bit of art, but that's been years since I've drawn a picture. But when it comes to drawing something, you will draw it pretty close to what it was. And when I look at that picture I've drawn, yes, it was trying to show the body itself coming from being quite a wide upper from shoulder to shoulder, and it came down, it narrowed down. It was a bit like I can see it right now. It was it was frightening. It would have shook you if you'd have met that on the road.
What do you feel about it now? Is it bringing any other memories back?
Yeah, it was fear, thinking what would have happened if I had have. To me, in some ways, I was supposed to knock it down because it had its back towards me. I could have taken it down, but that would have been against everything I believe in, because whenever you see anything, be it an animal on the road, I couldn't harm it. Do you know what I mean? But it's like the evidence was in front of me. I chose not to take it down, because you would have. I don't know. Some people look at me today, and I talk to a few people, and they say you should have knocked it down.
Why did they say that? It's
I
dreadful.
don't know. It is, yeah. But it's like there's sometimes I think to myself it was like a test. It could have been a test for me, because it turned around and looked at me. But as it looked at me, this bit is something I'll remember forever. As if you were looking at something and you were trying to see what it was, you would go up and scrunch your eyes like that there. That's what it did. On that day, it turned around and turned its head to the side, looked as if it was trying to look up closer to me. And at that point, I looked into its eyes, and it just decided to go straight into the field. And the speed it moved when it actually went through in through the hedge, I've never seen something move like it. Do you know the way you watch something on, say, a movie on TV, and something moves like lightning? 1 minute it was there, the next it wasn't, if you know what I mean. It was like the speed of it moving was like lightning. Once it started to go through the hedge, it was gone.
So I'm going to show the picture that you've given from Google, and we'll talk about the UFO Google thing later. But which field on that, where you've drawn that black circle, on the way that it's drawn on the picture, which way were you traveling? Were you traveling from the top down or the bottom up? And which side of the road did it go out? Did it go into the field?
I was coming on a bit of an S bend.
Yeah, but were you traveling up on this image or down?
I would say up it, isn't it? Yeah.
And so, where did the being run? Would it on the left hand or the right side?
Yeah, I'm coming up the road, the left hand side, and it was directly in the middle of the road, and then it shot in to my left, if you know what I mean.
It looks as if the road opens up quite wide there.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Is that some kind of a park or some?
No, it's like it's there's, I would say there's a hedge either side. That will take, there's obviously a house. The other side there's a house up the road a wee bit.
Yeah, that's on the right.
Yes, that was on my right. Yeah, the house. Yeah.
And then off to the left it looks like a farm buildings. That's across the field.
Yes, that's the way up. Yeah, up the field. this thing, as I call it, well, it's an alien to me. It shot in through that into that field, and way up. I wanted to stop, and there was a part of me that wanted to stop, but the fear part of it kicks in, and you want to kind of put a marker out or something, into the ground and go, okay, this is where it happened. But no, you don't want to stop. You just drive on. And immediately after that, I just went. I remember that day. I told everybody. I told my parents. Brother, sister, everybody knows. People in work. It was like, to this day, I will still talk about it because it's not just a small little thing. I haven't seen a light coming across the sky and somebody will tell me, "Oh no, that's a satellite." No, this is way out there. It's off the Richter scale. It's like nothing will come close to it. It happened, and it'll stay with me forever. It's a life-changing event. In some ways, it changed.
I mean, has anything happened odd in your life before that?
There's quite a few things that have happened.
Well, if you want to go ahead and talk. Now, I just want to caution people from an investigating point of view. I want to find out everything about this so that you, the public, and everybody else can know about it. But that may not be in the witness's interests. So I'm going to push, Arfon to. Is that the correct way of saying it, Arfon?
Yeah.
That you tell us everything, but if you don't want to do that, don't.
I know.
Okay.
I will tell you, since that happened on that day, there was another night. This is true. This is not made up. None of it's made up. I was driving along the road that goes from Newry to Armagh, which is towards Market Hill. And there was another car driving in front. This was about 9:30 in the evening. It was starting to get dark. And across the road, in front of the other car's headlights, this thing jumped across the road, and I'm talking big jumps. This is not a kangaroo. It's not, it's not an animal of any sort, because I could see it coming across the lights of the other car, and it was, as it jumped across, it had its head turned to the car. It was looking. It was just jumping across. And the way I would say it was, from what I could see, I was behind the other car, but I could see it going through past the lights, and it went right across the road into the field. And that car stopped, pulled in immediately. And some people say to me to this day, "Why did you not go and ask them what did they see?" Because I saw it myself, and I started going, "I'm not stopping here. Good luck to it. I was away. This has happened. It's the same thing." But maybe at that point I should have got out, talked to them. But you just don't want to.
In what way would you have talked to them? Why do you feel you would have done that?
But that's the thing. It's the fear. What would they have thought? If they've had the fright of their life, they don't want somebody stopping beside them, going, "Oh, what is this?" There was 4 people in the car that night. I remember it.
And whenabouts was this?
It's the road running from Newry to Market Hill. 2 miles from Market Hill.
Now, from my perspective as a UFO investigator, I mean, over the years, I used to run the British UFO Research Association, a regional investigations coordinator. I was part of the Irish UFO Research Centre, going back to my youth when I had hair. But in that area, there's been cattle mutilations, there's been lots of UFOs, there's been a downed US military craft in the 1950s. They were never able to recover. It went into one of the lakes further up. The Camelot cattle mutilation incident, the UFOs seen at Carlingford Loch. Tony Dodd said that there was an alien base in Carlingford Loch directly opposite the Lake District, and the Lake District is full of UFOs. There's a couple of ET bases there. So the context of this is very important, folks. So back to you, Arfon.
There's quite a few things that have happened, and it's trying to get to the truth of it, and it's like with anybody with that incident. Well, I've seen what I've seen on that road that day. I've been lucky enough to see it. Unfortunately, on that day, I didn't have a dash cam on the car to be able to capture it, footage of it, which would have been great to have it.
Yeah.
With that incident that happened after that, with the same thing, I'm sure from what I could see, it was the same thing that came across the road in front of that other car.
Now, you've, just to get back to your main incident, there's a photograph you sent of signposts. Is that
Yes.
Is that where it happened? Is that closer to where?
That's the direction I was driving down. As you're coming around that corner, then with the other photo I've shown you, there's like a bit of an S bend, and I come out onto that street. So that's the road.
Well, while we're here, we've got the Google photograph of a UFO in that area. From
Yes.
Google.
Well,
Do you want to talk about that now? But we'll get back to your earlier incident.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about that. The photo of that picture in the sky. From that junction, from that picture that you have of that junction there. If you look directly across that, and then look at that picture of that UFO in the sky, that's where that photo has been taken, and where that UFO is in the sky. That's the field where I've seen that alien go into the field. Okay, it's hard to describe, but what I'll say about that photo is, I got that photo given to me, and it was dated May 2017. The way the Google Map thing was taken, and that's, we can see that in the sky, and to me there's no doubt what it is. It's not a bird, it's nothing, it shouldn't be there, but since that, after May 2017, I rechecked that stretch of road, and that's been from that junction. What I'm saying to you is, where you've got that picture of the junction with the signs, that's when you look at that junction there, the footage of the sky, you can no longer see that UFO in the sky. They've changed it from May 2017.
In fact, there's some outcrop of rocks.
Yes.
Is that bare rock, or is it concrete, or?
No, it's like they've been digging soil. There's a bit of digging been going on, and see, as you go around the corner where I've come out from that corner where I've seen it, there's a wee road that takes you up where they've been digging out on there. Obviously, it's changed a wee bit, but you can see where there's been digging work going on up there.
What kind of works? Do you have any idea? Is it like putting pipes in or whatever?
No, they've just been doing it's a wee track driving up, maybe to try and build a house or something. It's just a way up.
But it's not some kind of archaeological dig of some kind.
I don't think it's I don't think it is that. Not as far as I know. But there was something strange after that. I was going, why was this happening? But there was probably nothing to it. That stretch of road, as you go around the corner, it was closed off for weeks, because the road had sunk down 2 or 3 times, and they'd filled it up, which was quite.
Is there a river nearby, or?
No, there was no river there. And I was going, why is this happening? The road sank 2 or 3 times, and they had to fill it up, and then they closed it for about 5-6 weeks, and they had to refill the whole thing up and re-tarmac the whole section of road. It was a mystery, but that's something different altogether.
So, how far away is the border from there?
Oh God, that's a good few miles.
It's quite a fair distance.
Yeah, you have to head off towards Armagh. I don't know, really. It's about 20 minutes, half an hour away, is it?
Yeah, so it's quite a distance as such.
But where I did see this alien thing on the road, I've been trying to research the whole thing. I did get in touch with with a group, Northern Ireland UFO Society. That's where I first went. I was trying to contact different people because I wanted to talk about this. There's nobody out there, who do you go to? And I contacted them and met up with one of the guys and just basically told him my story.
And that's getting onto the BBC show that's happening imminently. And we were talking at the end of September here, I think the 27th or whatever, and they're having BBC Northern Ireland are having a show, a TV, 3 shows. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we were out on a night watch.
They first talked to us at the UFO conference in June.
Yeah, we had a chat with the crew and went through a few things there, and it's led from there. We went out then on a night watch there a couple of weeks ago, and basically I'm going to be on that day talking about a few things about this incident. It's just
there's a people just on the chat room just reminding people we're live, and if you want to ask Arfon a question, because Wales is known for its UFO incidents. Yes, you are Welsh. There's people on the chat room have said, is he Welsh? Yes, he's Welsh, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, okay, where were we?
Oh, God. So, yes, the Northern Ireland UFO Society, which is an extremely able and well put together society. I'm very satisfied to know that there's a very good UFO group there. We'd had hoped to have a conference with them this month or coming up to October, but they were at the Consciousness UFO conference run by Zohar Entertainment Incorporated up in Manchester. A really big event. It's there every year. It's the second time last year. This year was the second time. And you were recorded by BBC Northern Ireland along with Patrick Allen, and I think Yvonne was there, but we don't mention her name necessarily. She won't be on camera, as we understand. But go ahead, explain, tell us what happened.
Well, it was a case of, before that, I have to talk to somebody about this here. So I remember going online, looking up different places. Who can you talk to about this? There's bound to be some way you can report it. So I remember sending off an email, and it must have been, I can't remember where it was, some government department to do with UFOs. And I remember sending an email off. And because they say, if you've seen something, you must report it. But I can't remember where it was. But I did send
Which
it
department was this? Was this a Northern Ireland one or the Home Office or whatever?
No, yeah, it was something to do with the UK, Home Office something. And funny enough, no reply. Yeah.
That might cost money, for God's sake.
No, they didn't want to know. Because some people say, he's making that up. No, he's not. Because why would I be talking here today?
Well, this is where I'm going to bash you and say nasty words. People would say you're just imagining it, and it's all rubbish, and who do you think you are, and you're just an attention seeker. I mean, really, what are you on?
What am I on tonight?
Yeah, but were you drinking, or were you had too much pochine, or had you, or I mean, just imagining things? You're just an attention seeker.
No, there was no drink involved. There was no. I'm not one to do drugs. There was no drink involved that day. There was nothing. I was coming round, driving the car as happy as anybody. It happened, and that's it. If it was something, if I had had a glimpse of something, thinking that I had seen something in the distance in the field, I wouldn't be talking about it today, because somebody would say, it must have been something else. Do you know what I mean? A shadow of something, or do you know what I mean? You wouldn't want to talk about it, because you would have seen a light.
Well, talking about shadows.
Yeah.
Have you experienced shadow type things? Have you noticed stuff like that beforehand or afterwards or whatever?
Yeah, you can go into a lot of things.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, okay, I will talk about one thing, and there was a few years before, and some people are going to people are going to say, no, this is it's totally on a different subject. It's not on the level of UFOs, ETs, whatever they call it. Yes, I've had an experience of sitting in my living room of the house. My partner was with me at the time, and she will say today that she felt something go past and she could see a shadow. And to this day, she remembers it. I was sitting directly looking at the doorway that leads the hall that led into the kitchen. And I remember it, the shadow of a woman, a young woman, grey, just floated into the kitchen. Now, what I'm saying is, at that point, yes, it was, it was a ghost, as we would call it. Yeah, do you know what I mean? You see something, it's gone through. When I ran into the kitchen to see what it was, there was nothing there, and there was no drink involved. There was nothing, And there's things that like that happen. You think back and go, okay, that's happened. And then once this happened in May 2016 on the Tannyoky Road, which was on a different scale altogether, I've started looking back and going, okay, there's things that have happened before. And from everything that's happened, I've all documented these now. I'm putting them into a book.
Good.
So there's a wee book going to come out on all these little things that have happened. I call them little things. All the things that have happened before this are small compared to the Tannyoky.
So what sort of things have you been reporting or hearing at the Northern Ireland UFO Society? I mean, they have a Facebook site and a website. Could you mention that, if possible?
Yeah, there is a website on on Facebook that people can have a look at. And
that's the Northern Ireland UFO Society.
Yeah. And we have a team of, I can't think of how many we are at the minute, 12 or more maybe.
You're doing a lot of very good work.
Yeah,
which is why the BBC are making a programme. BBC Northern Ireland making 3 shows, one of which is featuring the Northern Ireland UFO Society.
Yeah. If there's any, if anybody has seen anything strange in the sky or whatever, like in my instance on the road, there is a page on the NI UFO Society on Facebook that you can report any thing you've seen. But if you want to remain anonymous, you can do so. There's a thing to click on it that you don't have to, disclose who you are. But it's a case of anything and everything, report them, and the reports are coming through.
And what sort of reports are happening? I mean, I understand they've been investigating the round towers of Ireland, where they have got some kind of match up with the with the constellation of Draco. And Belfast is one of the key locations in that. These are these round cylindrical towers all across Ireland, and there's been a lot of work on that. Also, cattle mutilations, cattle disappearing, UFOs, people disappearing. A lot of stuff going on there. What's happening?
Let's hope I don't disappear.
Well, hopefully not.
No, there has been cattle mutilations, sheep mutilations happening. There's a case that's been happening over the years up in the Sperrins Mountains that at the minute I'm kind of taking an interest in it, looking to see what's been going on there. It's been going on for, God, I don't know how many years now. I did buy the book. There's a book out on it. That's when
something like 500 cases, a huge number. Is that the one in the Sperrins?
Yeah, there's a book out on it called Circle of Deceit. Yeah.
Explain about that, because there are obviously archaeological sites in the Sperrin Mountains. The Sperrin Mountains are on the west of Lough Neagh,
That's one I need to look into myself. I've started reading the book, and it's a good one. It has reports of everything that the way they reported, trying to get the attention of the authorities, and the way that they replied back, and all the whole thing about it. There was the way I look at it, a big cover up. I would love to go up there and do a night watch up there to see what we can find out.
So the BBC did a night watch recording with you, but what sort of things have you done with BBC Northern Ireland? I have to say that I used to work for BBC Northern Ireland, so, but also we did a lot of UFO stuff way back in the 70s with the BBC.
Well, that night when they came with us, it was a case of looking to see what we could. They had a general interest, and to see what we were doing, how we were doing it.
I mean, how do you think the program's going to come out? A bunch of wacko idiots, or what? I mean, do you believe in UFOs? Are you one of these believers?
If you look at my case, and from anybody who watches this here, I can tell you from my experience, I can only tell you from my experience, I've seen one on the road in front of me in Ireland. This happened in May 2016.
In broad daylight.
Broad daylight, yes. What I will say to people is, it's happened to me, and it will happen to somebody again. It has to happen again, because this thing, whatever it was, for some reason, some people say to me, it chose you to show itself, because why would you have not seen one a year ago? There's that much of a population on the planet. Why was it only me that's seen that?
Well, we're getting a few people in the chat room seeing UFOs. Certainly, I've seen them down there. No sort of days, but also a lot of people have been reporting them. But this is important for Northern Ireland, and it's not too many people have gone public in Northern Ireland, let alone Ireland itself, about encountering ETs, an alien. Or what makes you think it's an alien from another world or another dimension? What makes you think it's an ET?
Because it looked, some people say to me, it was a person dressed up in fancy dress. Maybe if that was the case, and it had hips as wide as a person, okay, then you could probably cast the argument of saying, yes, it was somebody dressed up. But the way I can tell you it wasn't is because of the way its hips were so small. The middle, you could have basically put your hands probably around the bottom part of it. That's how small, the bottom part of its body was. And the legs just came out from that. And the body, as it came up, it widened out. It was,
almost. It's very important that you've detailed all that. I mean, and I noticed that the eyes are sort of horizontal.
The way I describe
small
it,
nose, very small mouth. Did it have ears? What else did it have? Hair? Anything else?
No, it was just all skin. There was no hair to it. The tail itself. The way it had ridges on it. I came up so close to it, I looked. It had the way I'd say ridges, like lines across it, the way like a rat's tail. That's the way I can kind of describe it.
So you were that close.
I took it all in, yes.
Yeah.
But see the upper part, the torso of the body, the body itself. It was, how can I tell you? It was like a very, very dark blue, towards a grey, in between, and it was very rounded, totally smooth. The body part of it coming round these three muscles. It's a strange, and the legs were kind of the legs and arms were smooth looking, if you know what I mean. The skin, the I call it skin.
How many toes? What about the feet? What about the the hands?
The
What
feet,
were they like?
the feet and hands looked normal. You know, they didn't look strange. Very thin.
4 fingers and an opposing thumb.
Yeah, that's the way it seemed. Yes, it
Or
looked
6
that way.
fingers. No.
No, from what I could see, there was like at least 4, at least maybe 5, at the time, But it looked, the fingers were very thin, from what I could see. But my focus was looking straight at. I was taking this all in. The body itself was quite, as we are, being a man, quite wide, quite thick, a part of the body. It wasn't a thin body, if you know what I'm talking about. But the speed, it just shot into the field is just. Some people say to me this day, why did you not stop and jump out of the car and go and have a look over the hedge? Where did it go? When you see that moving at that speed, there's things that go through your head. It's going to take your head off. It's going to do bad things to you. You're not stopping around. Why?
Did it in any way communicate with you in any way, telepathically or verbally, or any noise come from it?
I think no. In some ways, I think it was frightened of me in the end, because it looked scrunched its eyes, trying to look through my windscreen. Do you know what I mean? Because I was getting so close to it. It kind of turned its head and looked down, trying to get a good look at me. And at that point, I was like near stopping in front of it. It goes straight in. It wasn't hanging around. Because I remember to this point, it pulled the grass aside and just in, away, goodbye,
Well, when's this going out on air? When's the BBC programme going out on air? We're speaking September 2018. There's going to be 3 shows. Do you want to just let people know what those are? This is BBC Northern Ireland, which if you're a BBC licence payer in the UK, you should be able to see that on iPlayer. Okay.
Yes, it'll definitely be on the iPlayer. We haven't been given a date yet, but as soon as the date is given, I'll be able to. And
that'll be on the Thursday opt-out slot, is it?
I'm not sure. They haven't told us what slot it's going to be on, what day. It's going to be a wee series that's coming on.
Is there a name associated with the programme that would help people find it, like the presenter?
There's going to be, as far as I know, it's going to be. Oh God, I can't try and remember the name of the show. I'll have to find out the exact name of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I will get back. I will get back to you on that.
And if people want to get in contact with you, how do you feel they would be able to do that?
Just trying to get, I suppose, an email address out there to.
Well, I mentioned before we went on here, before you mentioned any email addresses, that if you want, they can contact me directly, or if you're on Facebook.
Yeah, in the meantime, they could contact yourself, and I could give you some contact details you could put out there.
Or the Northern Ireland UFO Society, maybe that's easier.
Yes, that's one way of coming through. Yes.
And what's the Northern Ireland UFO Society's website? What's that called?
It's basically the Northern Ireland UFO Society.
That's .com or what? Or dot?
If you go onto that there, if you type in Northern Ireland UFO Society on Facebook, it'll bring you to their page, and then you can click on. I think it's niufo.org. I think it is.
Yeah, probably that. And they hold meetings and things and all that in Belfast?
It's niufos.org, yeah. And there's a link on it, you can click on it. Yes, we do have meetings that members can go. And if anybody wants to join, they can contact through the Facebook page just to say that they have an interest, and somebody will be in touch with them then. Yep.
Well, that's excellent. I mean, any other experiences? You mentioned the early ones, and I interrupted you. And do you want to go back to those shadow things, or have you any other paranormal experiences, or do you know of any other activity in the area where that happens? Apart from, I'll go back to this this Google UFO just while you say that, if you want.
I will tell you, on that stretch of road, if you can have a look at the picture that I circled of that road, where I was coming up on the road and it went into the field. If you look on that picture to the left of it, up a way bit on the field, do you see a round circle thing?
It's not that clear on this image, but go ahead, describe it. There's a round circle on the right, just before the house.
Yeah, is it the right hand side then? Is it?
Yeah.
Because I was driving up the other direction. Yeah, but it's one of those wraths.
A which? Sorry.
A wrath, is it? They call them.
A wrath? I haven't heard that name before.
Yeah, like a
dolmen or something like that.
It's a wrath, and they're extremely old things. We like old fortresses, isn't they? Like way back. If you read into that, there's history of them being all over Ireland.
Yeah.
They look at that there going, okay,
the stone circle, is that what you're talking about, or what?
Like a stone circle, yeah, but it's like a small wee fort. It's an old fort from way back.
Yeah, what they call forts, yeah.
Raths, or Rath, I think they call them.
I haven't heard that expression. Is that WRATH or what?
RATH, I'm not sure.
It's just a wrath.
Rath, yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Barry, see, the likes of Barry Fitzgerald, he's all into that.
Yeah, he's big time. Barry Fitzgerald, big researcher on that, done a lot of work on the Fae and the dimensional portals all across Ireland. A very, very important researcher from Sligo, I gather.
Yeah, so we've been looking into that there. I've been talking to him about the whole thing, and he has.
And how does he feel? What's his take on it?
He thinks it's a big story, you know. I was telling him about it, and he's like, he can't believe it.
I mean, he's been doing work on the Fae, on the dimensional portals in Ireland, on the force fields involved. He also was involved with the so-called NASCAR Greys, and the frauds involved there.
Yeah, we're looking at this here, trying to think, why was it seen where it was seen? You know, was there some kind of a line, an energy thing or whatever? You know.
Yeah, he does a lot of scientific work on that, along with Eamon Ansborough.
Yeah. It's trying to get to the bottom of it. I might never get to the bottom of.
But he's measuring voltage density in the atmosphere, in the air, and stuff like that. There's science involved here.
I have to try and get him up to exactly that, where it happened, you know. Just to get a feel of.
I really would love to have a conference in Northern Ireland. If we get a bit of sponsorship, we could try and do that before the end of the year. There's a major UFO event with Dave Hodrian of the Manchester Birmingham UFO research thing. He's got a big case. There's some very important stuff that we'd love to have had. That's just me talking. But finally, this is your very first time public with this. Obviously, you've recorded things with the BBC, but that's not going to air for a while, a couple of weeks maybe, or maybe it could be the end of the year, 2018. How do you feel about doing all this now?
It's at the very beginning, you're going, okay, who are you going to talk to about this here? Getting that bit of a kickback, dropping an email off, thinking, okay, I will get it off to a certain department here. They can give me an answer back, a bit of support, you know, in some kind of a way to tell me, okay, thanks for your story, could you tell us a bit more about it? That might have been the end of it. I might have just gone, okay, I've given it to the necessary people, you know, to have it documented. But because they didn't get back to me, and because of what it was, how it happened, and getting in touch with the NIUFO Society, and the ones that they have in that group said to me, okay, I was talking to them, I said, come along, there's a conference going on in Manchester. So with that, they're going along to it, and talking to people over there, getting to meet...
I mean, that's a big conference, 1,000 people plus.
You know, meeting people like Travis Walton, you know, he what happened to him, you know, he's a big case.
And they're going to reshoot that movie, apparently, his movie.
Yeah. Do you know, and there's people out there that have had big things that have happened to them. And some people say to this day, oh, God, that didn't happen to him, or this, that, or another. But people need to come forward more. Like in my case, I could have kept quiet about it. I could have just gone home and okay. You know.
Now, what part of Wales did you come from, and did you ever have any witness statements or witness anything odd where you came from Wales?
Well, being over there, West Wales, you hear people telling you. I remember somebody telling me that they were driving back one evening. There was one person in the family late at night, and they'd seen something in the middle of the road. This is true, and I remember my mum telling me about it. And it was a being, whatever it was, in the middle of the road in front of him, and it had like a dome, as he could describe it, over it. And I was like, how could that be? Do you know what I mean? And I remember my mum telling me about this story. And as soon as he came to it on the road, it just disappeared, as if it was smoke. You know, it just went up in front of him.
Now that's interesting, because that's got a Jinn signature. Jinn, D-J-I-N-N.
He couldn't explain. You know, my mum could have said, well, whatever, maybe he was hallucinating. Who knows?
Well, the Jinn, you know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
We think that doesn't happen. The Fae as well.
No, but
well,
there's a few things. There's a few things I will disclose in the book. It'll come out.
Have you started writing it?
Yes. Yeah.
So anywhere near publication?
It's not far off finishing. I've been writing it for a couple of weeks now. So there's a few stories in it. I'm glad of from this happening in May 2016. It has just made me go, right, okay, I started writing, you know, down what has happened over the years. And when you look at it and you're going, it's an eye-opener to me. There's some big things that really happened. I think whenever you read it yourself, you'll be going, is that real? It's very real.
Okay, finally, any sort of final words you want to say about the whole thing? How do you feel? This is your first time discussing this. It's putting Northern Ireland on the map for something a lot more exciting. UFO encounters, aliens and things. What do you feel about that?
What I say is, if anybody's seen anything out there, come forward, report it to the page that they have, the Northern Ireland UFO Society. You will not be looked at as crazy, because, you know, we as a society, because I'm a part of it, a member of it, we investigate. We have different people that look at different aspects of it to see, you know, what's going on, to bring it out there, you know, to the forefront. We need to investigate. We need to find out the truth. You know, it's been hidden from people for years. People need to, you know, don't be afraid to report it. You know.
Okay, well, thank you very much. My name is Miles, and it's live on the Facebook group. Will be an edit of this available on the YouTube site. And any final word just before we go?
I don't know. What I'll say to you, Miles, is if I come across anything again, I'll be straight back to you with it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm going to fade you out now. Thank you. And this is Miles from the Basis Project. We do depend on donations, and that's something we can. Hopefully, I don't screw this up. We'll do that. Yeah, and Miles of the Basis Project is a way of sending donations via PayPal. That email address is not currently linked in with the Google site, which is tmilesj@gmail.com. And there's other ways of trying to do that, Patreon, and that helps if you can. And I'll say good night for now. This is Miles Basis Project, copyright 2018.